What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday morning. Hope you guys had a great long weekend. We are back at it here. Scanners are firing. I'm in the green, sitting at 4 times the daily goal, over $20,000 in profits, locked up this morning in about 2.5 hours of trading. Those of you guys already doing the 2-week trial, you already know this because you were watching over my shoulder this morning, and we're going to break down each of the trades that I took. For those of you guys that are not already doing a 2-week trial, link will be pinned to the top comment and posted in the description. During your 2-week trial, you get to watch over my shoulder while I'm trading, but you also get access to this platform right here, which is Day Trade Dash. You'll have access to my scanners, which is where I find stocks to trade, my news feed, my charts, and of course the chat room and my broadcast. We'll also give you a curated view of some of the classes straight from the Warrior Pro curriculum, so you can get a sense and learn a little bit more about my strategy and the way I teach. Now, I'll ask you to forgive my voice. I've got a little bit of a hoarseness to my voice. But that's okay. That's not going to stop me from trading. Had a good day today, and let's break it down, beginning with the first trade. Okay, so first stock I trade today, TPET. TPET is a petroleum stock. You may have heard "drill, baby, drill." This was a quote from our president, Donald Trump, and so it's kind of interesting because on the one hand, the sentiment of drilling, some stocks are dropping down a little bit. Potentially increased flooding the market could decrease prices, which could decrease profitability, but it could also increase opportunities for some of these small cap companies. Now, some of the ones that we've traded in the past, Houston American Energy Company, that's been a good one. INDO, Indonesia Energy Company. Well, that's Indonesian. It doesn't have any real bearing on Trump's policy for the most part, I wouldn't think, although maybe to the downside if we're producing more of our own oil. But we had TPET that popped up on the scans, Trio Petroleum. And so when I first looked at it, I thought, well, I'm just not sure. This isn't a sector that I'm absolutely in love with, a California-focused oil and gas exploration company, but it could benefit from Trump policies, right? So that was sort of the thinking there. And this morning it popped up at 4 a.m., pulled back, popped up again about 6 a.m., pulled back. And as it popped up right here at 7 a.m., I jumped in and rode that momentum and was able to lock up $475.49. But there is some bad news. And the bad news on this, let's jump on the whiteboard. Hey, wait a second, my whiteboard's not working. So let me just turn on the camera. So the bad news is that I jumped in it with 12,000 shares, and although I took 12,000 shares, I only made about 12,000 shares. If I had made 5 cents, would have been $600, right? 10 cents would be $1,200. So I didn't even make a full 5 cents per share on this trade. I jumped in and jumped out. It was a decent sized position, but I didn't get a big winner on it. So to answer the question, there's a couple questions that sometimes people ask, Ross, how much money are you putting into these trades? So this very first trade on TPET, I jumped in at just over $3. And if we look at the 10-second chart, you'll get a better sense of where I took my trade. So coming into 7 a.m. right here, it popped up. So it popped up here, it dipped down, it popped up, it dipped down, and I bought right down here at about 3. Just as it was holding over 3, and then caught this pop here up to a high of, it peaked at 324, which, wasn't bad, but it just for me didn't end up being a really solid trade because it didn't pull away. So 12,000 shares of a $3 stock, right? So 12 times 3, so about $36,000 position. About that, more or less. So anyways, $36,000 position approximately. And on that, my ROI was very poor, right? I only made $475. Now, some people would say, Ross, you're probably one of the biggest idiots I've ever seen. You risked $36,000 to make $475. How long is that going to work for you before you lose 36 grand? Well, wait a second. Before you say I'm the biggest idiot that you've ever met, I may be up there, but not the very biggest, because how much risk was I really taking? I got in just over 3. What was my max loss on this trade? Just under 3, $2.95. So really, I'm risking more like 10 cents per share. 10 cents times 12,000 shares is $1,200. All right, so now it's fair to say, Ross, you risked 1,200 to make 475. That's not a very good risk to reward ratio. You're going to need to be right 75% of the time to be profitable if this is how you're always trading. Well, that's not how I always trade, but the case in this stock was that I got in, and what I was hoping it would do is rip through 310, squeeze through 315, and keep going higher. But it didn't. It popped up, it just didn't pull away, and then it dropped back down. And so I sold as it started coming back down, and was grateful to have 5 cents of profit instead of a loss, because that was the alternative. This was a trade that didn't work out well, but in spite of it not working out well, it was still a small winner. So I can't really complain too much about that. All right, so that was the first trade. Broke the ice, got myself in the green, but wasn't thrilled. Next trade, 7:30, NIXX. So 7:30, bottom of the hour, NIXX comes up and it starts spiking. Now, this is really tricky because when a stock starts spiking right at the bottom of the hour like this, the logical conclusion is that this is a stock that has breaking news. That's why it's squeezing up. There's news on it. And so I was looking for the news. I wasn't seeing the news. Now, there was a news feed that came up here a little bit later, but I wasn't seeing any news headlines. So I was a little bit confused. But in spite of that, I said, look, it's popping up right here. And as it popped up and pulled back, I jumped in right on this candle at 545. I added at 545, and I was looking for the break through 550. So what we know is that most stocks trade with a great deal of respect for half dollars and whole dollars. So as it broke over and held over 5, I got in at 545. Buying just under a resistance level can be a little risky, but I thought that I was buying a stock at the beginning of the move, and if it held over 550, the next target logically would be 6. And we got that move from 550 right up to 6. Now, it ended up squeezing up to a high of about 630. I added at $6, but it immediately came back down. And as it came back down right here, I was like, all right, well, I got to unwind the position. And so I sold as it came back down, getting out at 570, 584, and then some of the shares at 542, a little bit lower. I then did a dip trade at 459 down here, 3,000 shares, and it bounced back up to 490. So that was actually a decent trade. So from 459 down here back up to 490, it comes back down again, and I thought maybe I should do another double bottom trade. But at that point, I was like, maybe I shouldn't push my luck. So 2 trades on this. One was a breakout at 545. The other was a dip at 459 and a little bounce back up. So between the two, I locked up $1,800. That's not home run stuff, but again, it's another base hit. So now I'm on the leaderboard with about $1,200 or $2,200, but clearly got to keep it tight. So I wasn't thrilled to see this rejection coming back down. Higher volume on the red candle, could have easily been a loss on it. So I wasn't happy with that. But then all of a sudden my scanner starts chiming, beep, beep, and I see INM hitting the scans. So now I'm like, well, geez, INM, should I jump in this, especially after NIXX just did that flush? And so as I look at whatever, you get the idea. As I look at this one, I'm checking the scanner on it. I'll see if I can scroll all the way back. Sometimes it takes a second to load all these alerts from earlier. But the first thing I notice is that this stock has a particularly low float. The float is 658,000 shares. So what time was this? This was right around 7:30. So, right. So here we go. So NIXX was on the scanner here. And when NIXX first hit, it was light volume, right? No question about it. It was a light volume stock hitting the scanner, 7:30, bottom of the hour. And actually where I first would have seen this would have either been on the running up scanner right here or on the top gainers scanner as it started to move up the scan. You'll see the green arrows as the stock is moving up the scan. So then INM hits the scanner and I see, okay, this one's got the flame. So I know for sure it's got news. Now, sometimes a stock won't have the flame, but it's spiking at the bottom of the hour. And I'm thinking it probably does have news. We may just not have the news yet. So that's why I still took that trade on NIXX. But on INM, I actually saw the news come through. So demonstrates statistically significant reduction in neuroinflammation in a long-term preclinical Alzheimer's disease study. All right, so I'm like, okay, we've got a headline here on this, and it's a super low float stock. It's already up 43% on the day. So this thing is moving quick. So basically it hits my scanner right here and I'm like, all right, I got to pull this up quickly. So I pull up the chart. Now I can do that just by clicking on the ticker, or I can actually type it in. And then I pull up my level 2. Now, if we get dialed in on the 10-second chart, you'll see how as soon as you pulled it up, you could see it popped up really quickly. So so I ended up taking a starter position in this candle right here, but I only got partial fills. I used my hotkey Shift 1 to add 1,000 shares, starter, add another 1,000, partial fill, add another 1,000, partial fill, add another 1,000. So I'm getting partial fills, but I am getting in. Now it hits a high of 780. It pops up to about 815. I take some profit off the table, right? Then it pulls back, it dips down, it kind of rejects, pulls back a little bit more, and then right in here, I'm like, okay, we're basing out. So what I ended up doing on this one, I got a couple breakout trades, and then I started buying dips on this one. Each time it came down, these bottoming tail areas, I was buying a dip and then a little pop back up, even if it was only 15 cents, 10 cents. So buying a dip, getting a pop back up. Now on a stock like this, a 2,000 share position, you sort of contrast that from right here. So on this one, a 2,000 share position, times 7 is a $14,000 position. But on this, all of a sudden, I get a 30-cent pop on it and I'm up 600 bucks. So now I'm getting a 600 winner because I'm getting 30 cents a share. I'm getting a nice big win. So I'm getting $600, but I'm doing it with less shares, which is nice, and a less total dollar position. So $600, and the risk on these trades, because I'm buying off of support, I'm looking at 10 cents of risk. So on these ones, $200 of risk versus $600 of profit, that's really nice. And on some of them, I'm scaling up to 6,000, to 8,000, to 10,000 shares once we had more volume on it. So I'm starting to be a little bit more aggressive. So the risk to reward was a lot better on INM. And pretty quickly, I was able to build a cushion on this thing as it squeezed up here up to a high of 920. Now, the only thing that's a bummer is that we got this topping tail and it didn't open up here and keep going higher. It pushed higher and then it flashed higher and then it came back down. So it pulled back, it dipped down, and then we got another curl back up right here, which I had a really nice dip off of this level. It was holding support. Even though the MACD was negative, this was a little bit of a riskier trade, but it was a double bottom holding support. So I was like, I like that. We got to curl back up on that one. And then as we came into the open, it kind of started to pull back. But that range, and so, my best entry was probably, it's probably around 725, 750. So even just in this range right here, in that range, I was able to make $12,000. So that was really solid. That really put me on the leaderboard. So now I'm up about 14, almost 15,000 on the day. And then I see XTIA come up. XTIA hits the scans, has news at 9 a.m. It pops up, reverses immediately, comes back down. I jumped in, jumped out, lost 12 bucks. So ruthless, cut the loss. Same with NIXX, ruthless, just get out. It's not working, get out. Look to the next one. And the stock that I had on my watch list from yesterday was BTCT, right? Cryptocurrency stock, which is kind of, with the Trump administration and everything else, the inauguration, I'm thinking this makes sense to be focused on. And I got a nice trade on this, a couple nice trades, but this was the first one right here, this break of 860. That gave us a squeeze up to 940, a little punch higher. It pulls back, and then I got another trade right here on the squeeze up over 10. So 2 nice trades on that one for $5,000, and that puts me at $20,802.60 on the day. That's a great start to the week. Now, last week, my best day of the week was on Monday, and that's not typically the case. Usually on a Monday, I'm kind of breaking the ice. I'm building a little bit of a cushion, and then I start to get aggressive Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Of course, today, I knew I had to make up for lost time because the market was closed yesterday for Monday. But a nice solid green day here for Tuesday. Now I've got a cushion. I can take some risk Wednesday and Thursday. And if we see some more solid action, this could be a nice week. Last week, I was up 34,000. Not bad, but a little slow. Sitting at 120 on the month. Well, 140 now when you add today's trades in. And I'm just going to try to keep, look, I'm going to be aggressive as long as the market's giving me good opportunities. But today, we really only had, I guess, 3 kind of solid setups. We had a couple solid setups on INM, and then 2 setups on BTCT, and then the other stocks were sort of like, a miss. But that's okay. As long as you're keeping your risk tight, I don't have a problem taking losses. I just want to make sure the losses are small and that the winners on average are bigger and that I'm winning on average more than I'm losing. So if you guys are interested in learning how to trade and you haven't already done a 2-week trial, like I said, link is going to be posted in the description and pinned to the very top comment, so you can sign up today, do your market data agreement so you'll get real-time access to the scanners, the charts, and the news feed, and you can listen to me as I'm trading tomorrow. Now, I want to remind you, as always, that trading is risky and that this is an interactive classroom where you get to see the strategies I teach on display. My intention is not for you to blindly follow me or anyone else. My goal is that I can teach you how to fish, not just hand you a fish. I want you to actually learn the strategy. But the best way to do that is to immerse yourself in a community of other people who are speaking the same language. This right here, technical analysis, reading candlestick charts, that's the language of the financial markets. So I hope you join us, and I will be live streaming tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern. And I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Reminder, trading is risky and my results aren't typical. So please manage your risk, and I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.